Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. I'm joined by Paul McAllister, and we're going to be discussing in this live stream what we witnessed this afternoon of Everton nil, Tottenham Hotspur nil at Goodison Park in the first of what is a really tough run of fixtures coming up for Everton, and of course on the back of three really disappointing losses at the hands of West Ham, Watford, and Wolverhampton Wanderers. So we'll just jump straight into it. I thought Everton, we're all after a win today. We could have really done with 3 points. I think that goes without saying. But Paul, would you go along with saying that it was a much improved display by Everton today? There seemed to be a bit more fight and a bit more about them in today's display.
Yeah, we played as well as we possibly could do, given the circumstances with the injuries and the squads, and the fact that certain players are really out of form or have just coming back off injuries, now fully up to speed. Yeah, so it was much better performance-wise, and I think that's all the fans deep down could have really wanted from this game. As long as we saw a bit of spirit and a bit of fight, and seeing the players looking like they were actually caring and rolling the sleeves up and trying desperately to get the win, then I think fans would have come out of the stadium satisfied. And the fact that we've got a point out of it and should have had all three, for me, I think that just means that fans have got reason to feel a lot more positive than they have over the last couple of weeks with, as you said, that dismal run we went on where it didn't even look like the players were even trying in those defeats, whereas it seemed like the players were giving absolutely everything there today. And the only reason we haven't got the 3 points as a reward is because of some interest in officiating. But no, I was happy with the performance, and for me, it's a point gained rather than two dropped.
Yeah, definitely. It's a point gained, isn't it? You mentioned there how we've come away perhaps disappointed that we didn't have all three. And, we'll get into all that nonsense shortly, I'm sure. But going into the game, team selection, Fabian Delph, there's a lot of calls for him to start following that impressive performance against the Wolves. And he was included from minute 1 today. Also, Anthony Gordon started. Luca Dean was back, and it was a midfield 2. What were your thoughts on the team selection today, Paul? Because there were a lot of calls for Delph to come back into that side because he was really good, wasn't he, against Wolves? And I think the way I look at it, I think that it was the best squad Rafa could have went with today, wasn't it?
Yeah, I agree with that. It was the best 11 that he could field, really, considering what I said before, the injuries we've got and with players we've got who we've just sick to the back teeth of and we don't want to see anymore. There's going to be some people who would still argue that Alex Iwobi would have been a better choice than Anthony Gordon, but I don't go along with that.
No, certainly not.
No, Anthony Gordon needs minutes if he's going to progress, and Alex Iwobi's 9 lives are up at Everton now. So
yeah,
I was glad to see Gordon stay in the team and Iwobi drop to the bench. Fabian Delph, if he was fit enough to start, then you were going to start him after that game against Wolves, where he looked really impressive. He's always been a decent footballer, a solid professional when he's on the pitch. It's just all the stuff that comes with him off the pitch, isn't it? That's always been the reason Evertonians have had a problem with him. It's not because we don't think he's good enough. It's the fact that he's never on the pitch in the first place to show us what he can do. And some of his antics, the way he interacts with fans and the way he behaves on social media, that's always been the problem with Delph. It's never been because we don't think he's good enough to play any sort of role when he's fit. I was glad that Ben Godfrey stayed in the team because Godfrey's had a bit of an up and down time this season, hasn't he? He's looked poor in games, he's looked better in others. I thought again was another really good, solid 90 minutes for him. He's getting back to the Ben Godfrey we know. It would have been easy to just drop him and put Holgate in there alongside Michael Keane, who've got a more familiar partnership. But it's a no-brainer for me. If you've got a fully fit Godfrey and a fully fit Holgate, I don't think Holgate should ever be getting in over Ben Godfrey myself personally, even if it's as a makeshift right back. I wouldn't put Holgate in there over Godfrey. So yeah, the team I was happy with, and when I saw it on my phone, I thought, I think that team can get a draw today. I don't see that team going out and getting spanked, which was what I thought when I saw the lineup announced. I didn't get the fear of God put into me thinking, oh my God, we're in for a nasty Tonkin today. I think this team will actually show a bit of competitive spirit and we'll fight a little bit, and we've got enough in us to get a draw at least, and that proved to be the case. We got a draw, and if any team was going to win it, it should have been us for me.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned the team there, and I thought Everton played quite well in this game today. There was never a prolonged period in the game where we thought Tottenham were really going to hurt us as such. I was quite disappointed with Tottenham today, actually. I thought they were really poor. They didn't really pose that much of a threat to us. They had their odd moments in the second half, but I thought we like you correctly said, then if anyone looked like they were going to go on and get that goal and take all 3 points, it did look like it was gonna be us. What a, one of the big things for me today, and I want to get your thoughts on this. It just seemed today that we really lacked the presence of like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin, just someone to maybe finish those chances that were being created by the likes of Gordon, Townsend, and Gray. We just seemed a little bit blunt in the final third for me today, and lacked that little bit of creativity, just that cutting edge that we maybe could have got that goal and get that deserved win. So what your thoughts on that? Do you feel like maybe we were lacking in attacking areas? I mean, obviously we know the situation we're faced with our availability, but what were your thoughts on that?
I agree with what you said then. We were just blunt. We had a front three of players who were trying. Damari Gray is always tried. I don't think I've seen a game for him at Everton yet where I thought he's kind of been a bit lazy or he's not giving it his best. He always gives it his best. Same with Townsend. Townsend played a bit more centrally today, didn't he? Where
Yeah,
it didn't really suit him, but he's never played there really in his career. He's a wide player, and obviously he wanted someone had to play there, and rather than put Anthony Gordon in there behind Richarlison, he decided to go for experience, Rafa, and go with Townsend. And Damari Gray's played through the centre a couple of times this season, and there tended to be the games where he's had less impact. So I wasn't surprised with the forward three we've got. And any number 9 who we're going to play is an improvement over Rondon, as far as I'm concerned. So the forward three, they all put a good shift in. They all look like they were capable, if they just got the right ball through to them, of making something happen. It was just I thought Tottenham defended very well. I think other than their back line, they didn't impress me at all. Tottenham, I thought we were two very similar sides in terms of quality, but the big difference was we didn't have our best midfielder and we don't have our 20 goal a season striker on the pitch. They did. They had Harry Kane, they had Højbjerg, and they had Bergwijn in, they had Lucas Moura, they had Son, they had all their big hitters there pretty much. And as you said, there wasn't any, other than the late shot, they had that at the woodwork. There wasn't any moment where I thought, oh my God, how have they not scored there? I thought we dealt with them pretty, I wouldn't say comfortably, but we kept them at arm's length for the majority of the game. And I don't see how any Tottenham fan come out of there thinking that they deserved the 3 points. I think they were good value for a point because they kept us honest as well. It wasn't like we were peppering their goal with loads of shots and crosses into the box. But I looked at some of the players they've got and I thought, bloody hell, Conte's got a real job on here getting any sort of tune out of these because they just look like they can't be bothered, a lot of them.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with Tot as well, as we mentioned there. There was never a period in the game where I thought we were really under pressure and it looks like we were gonna concede. I thought we were quite assured today defensively, where in previous weeks we looked like we just couldn't defend to save our lives. So it was encouraging to see a bit of an improvement on the defensive side of things.
We looked better on the set pieces, didn't we? They got quite a few set pieces, corners and free kicks,
there was a couple of opportunities, wasn't there, where they had a set piece and you're thinking, oh, here we go, because we know what we're like given these sort of situations. But like you said, then we dealt with it really well, and it was definitely obviously it's a clean sheet, and I thought overall our defensive display certainly improved today. Obviously we went in and it was 0-0 at half time, and I think everyone was quite content with that. Everton weren't playing badly at all. I thought we were knocking it round. We were trying to create things and make things happen, but we just lacked that little bit in the final third, didn't we? But of course we kept Tottenham at bay, as we just touched on. Obviously the second half comes back in, and then I think it was around the 60-minute mark, so the big talking point comes into the game, and this was how it hasn't been given as a penalty is beyond me. I saw it just in front of me in the lower Gladys as well.
Same.
Obviously Richarlison's through on goal. It's a good ball through to him, and he picks it up, and obviously Lloris is taking him down, and straight away everyone just jumps up off the seats and screams penalty, and then we see the referee give it, and we think finally a bit of luck, something's going our way. And we know how limited we are up front, and if we were going to get that goal today, it probably would have made sense if it came from something like a penalty sort of scenario. So it was, we get the penalty, and I always just had the feeling in the back of my mind that this wasn't going to get given. As soon as you see the referee, who I'm sure we'll touch on in a moment, touch his ear and everything and go to the screen, I just knew it was going to get overturned. But having seen replays, it looks like Lloris does make clear contact with Richarlison and he does bring him down. There's an argument there that he gets the ball, but it's the slightest of touch off his fingertips, isn't it? And he quite clearly makes contact with Richarlison, and the referee goes to the screen and overrules it, and there's no penalty to Everton. So, Paul, what's your take on the penalty situation?
My problem is with the referee completely. I mean, the fella's a complete joker. They're making it up as they go
Yeah.
along. It's not the fact that we didn't ultimately end up getting a penalty out of it. It's the fact that he blew up, he stopped the play straight away when we basically had an open goal. The goal was gaping at our mercy, and rather than paying advantage for a couple of seconds to see what would happen and then pulling it back to give a penalty, he just blew up straight away. And then obviously we go through all that idiot drama of him going over to the screen and taking an age to decide and then finally disallowing it. When the play restarted, it was just a drop ball for Tottenham. I don't know how you can possibly arrive at that.
Yeah, it should have been a corner to us at least, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how you can get to that resolution. When he stopped the play immediately, we had the ball in their box. Their goal was gaping. We had players ready to just nod it in. I think it was Richarlison who recovered the ball, wasn't it? If he wasn't going to take the shot on himself, he had about 3 or 4 players in the box just waiting for an easy tap in. And then when the play gets resumed again after all that hoo-ha, it's as if Hugo Lloris got a foul given for him,
which makes no sense.
Which made no sense at all. How have they arrived at that? Hugo Lloris, and whether you think it was a penalty or wasn't a penalty, Hugo Lloris should not be getting a drop goal to just take a goal kick when that all sorts itself out. They're making it up as they go along. It's idiocy, and we had more of it because I haven't seen this, but Richarlison went down holding his face at one point, and he doesn't go to the screen to look at that at all. He just makes his own mind up there and just backs his gut and just gives the yellow card, and he's not interested in hearing what the VAR have got to say about it. So he'll trust his gut and go with and give his decision for that. But when he's given a penalty immediately as well, as I said, it's not like he tried to play advantage. He was absolutely sure in the moment when he blew up that it was a penalty, and he gave it, and then he allows whoever it is in Stockley Park to basically get in his ear and make him go over and look at the screen and then reverse it. And again, it's farcical. I can't stand these referees, and I don't blame anyone who looks at this and thinks it's a rigged sport or thinks that basically it's just a sport where if you don't support one of the media darling clubs, then there's no point because it's not a fair playing field. I don't blame anyone.
Get what you're saying.
I don't blame it. If someone said that
for the United game, wasn't it?
Yeah, some person turned around and says to me, "How can you watch this sport when it's so blatantly terribly run like that?" I couldn't give them an answer. What were you supposed to say? You say, "Oh, I invest in the emotion of it." Yeah, but it's the emotion of having yourself being let down constantly, and not always by your team. Sometimes it's out of your team's control. It's just referees and officials and other people just conspiring against your club to make sure that another team that you're playing gets their way. Because let's have it right now. There was no way that the media wanted Conte to lose his opening game. It was written for Conte to get a good result in this, so they can all wax lyrical about him and say the revival for Tottenham has begun under Conte. No person in this country, media-wise, wants to write or talk about the fact that Conte lost his opening game to Everton. No chance. So if that's reversed, that's Harry Kane who goes down in our box off Jordan Pickford. That's an instant penalty, and it doesn't go to VAR. Same if that's Salah for Liverpool. Same if it's Sterling for City. Same if it's Ronaldo or whoever for United. It's ridiculous. I can't stand it. It's not the fact that we didn't get a penalty. It's the fact that the rules are just applied where and when the referees feel like it, and they're making them up as they go along. It's a complete load of bollocks, and it's just making me fall out of love with the sport even more.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with you. You know, a lot of people in the comments agree with you as well, Paul. Semi Charm says yes, Paul. Protecting the Sky Six again. Spurs don't even belong in that group anyhow. Erwin Koeman says the referee was awful. 100% was a penalty. And just on that as well, 1,882 votes on the Toffee Blues poll on Twitter. 84% do agree it was a penalty. And like you said, Paul, it does make you question it, doesn't it? Because is it Craig Pawson, the referee today?
No, Chris Kavanagh, whenever he's.
Oh, it was Chris Kavanagh or something like that.
Yeah, so I can't even be asked trying to learn how to pronounce his name. He's an idiot. Yeah, can we just call him Knobhead?
Yeah, he's the same referee who, of course, denied us the last game before lockdown against Manchester United for some strange reason. We got robbed of 3 points
because Harry Maguire told him to.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then we've been denied another 3 points against one of the Super Six again here today at Tottenham. And on total reflection, we were probably. I thought we were at that point in the game going forward. The crowd was all up for it. I think we warranted to be in front at this point. And if we get that and we score, then I thought we were well deserved. But just on the referee, we don't want to go on and on. But I thought the referee just totally lost control of that game today. He just seems to have no real grasp on proceedings. There's just some soft yellow cards, some soft fouls, and he just completely lost it, in my opinion.
Yeah, he was given everything to Tottenham, the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to make it sound like Tottenham got lucky because they never, because I don't think we didn't exactly put them to the sword, did we? It was just, again, as I said, it was a game between two very evenly matched sides who were really, really lacking in certain areas. In our case, it was creativity. In their case, it was cutting edge. But I remember looking at the clock at one point, and I think it was like 67 minutes. And the only booking they had was Reguilon, or whatever he's called, the left back in the first half. And I'm thinking, how have they only got one yellow card when they're fouling us left, right, and centre? And we weren't angels either. We were getting a bit niggly with them and fouling them, but we were getting bookings for it. Delph got booked. I think was it someone else got a booking early in the half as well, in the first half as well.
It was Delph on it, yeah.
Yeah, it was Delph, but someone else. It was one of the defenders, I think.
Yeah,
it was someone. I remember. Might have been Dean, yeah. I remember looking around the hour mark and looking up at the big screen where it has the list of names. And so we had 2 yellow cards and they had 1. And I thought, how has there only been 3 yellow cards in this game? And how have they only had 1? A lot of these little snappy, dirty fouls that they were doing. As you said, he just completely lost control of the game. As I said, I'm not trying to make out like they were playing like Tony Pulis or Stoke and we were all innocent. Both teams were having little snipes at one another and kicking lumps out of each other, and the referee completely lost control of it. He didn't know. He was guessing on every decision, and it just seemed from our perspective, my perspective in the Glower Gladders, that they were getting the vast majority of the benefit of the doubt. He's an hopeless referee. I can't think of any of them who aren't hopeless, to be honest. It's just it makes it even worse when it's rubbed in your face that they are going out their way to help out certain clubs because it's what the media want, isn't it? Because I don't think if Nuno's still their manager, that half the stuff that went against us today in Tottenham's favour would have happened. I think we get that penalty if Nuno's the manager. Still, I think whatever happened with Richarlison, that gets dealt with a lot more professionally because clearly something happens because he gave the lad a yellow card for it. Whereas you see a lot of other times players touch someone else, the opposition player, on the face. It's just a red, isn't it? They go over to VAR, they have a look, and they don't hesitate with getting a red card out. It happened to Martial, didn't it? It happened to Richarlison 2 years ago at Bournemouth. It's just, as I've touched on, it's
just consistently inconsistent with these referees, isn't it? And it was just a really poor display again from the referee.
There was no way they were going to help another team beat Tottenham on Antonio Conte's big debut day, was there?
Yeah, it didn't suit the narrative.
That's what rankles. That's what rankles. Yeah.
It didn't suit the narrative because it was all there for Conte's big debut and all this. You know, we all know the score and that, but it is what it is. And the penalty got turned over. And at this point, you know, even though we didn't get the penalty at this point, like the crowd are really up to it, and it was a really good atmosphere inside the ground. And you think to yourself, you know, there was still a good half an hour or so to go at this point as well. So you thought, you know what, this is the turning point now. We've got the bit between our teeth here, and you know, hopefully we can still go on and get that goal. But you know, in the 5-10 minutes after it, I thought, you know, the atmosphere maintained, and we hooked and we puffed. But like we said at the start of the stream, we just lacked that little bit of quality up front, didn't we?
Yeah, I think it wasn't helped by the fact that Rafa got his subs wrong. He took off Fabian Delph. Probably it must have been a fitness thing. He's played his first hour in God knows how long. He played 45 minutes earlier on the week. So what's that? He's played over
on a yellow as well, wasn't he?
On a yellow, yeah. He's played over 100 plus minutes in 6 days. He'll probably have muscle fatigue now. We won't see him for another 3 months. So, but he brought on Tom Davies, and to be honest, I wasn't impressed with Davies. I don't think he was disastrous like another player was, but I just thought he was really, really wasteful, and he didn't get up to the speed of the game, even though he had long enough to do it. There was times when I think there was one point where he just kicked the ball out of play without. He took a pass and then he tried to move the ball along without even looking, and the ball went completely out of play. And the groan from the Gladders. And I know some people say people get on his back to it too much, but I remember turning to the guy next to me and saying, it's stuff like that where you wonder why do people think he does. Fans get annoyed with him when he just does stupid things like that. And times when he was just chasing after the ball like an headless chicken. I thought that Davies just wasn't good enough when he came on. Like I said, he wasn't like disastrous or anything. He wasn't directly responsible for something bad happening, but it was not a good showing from him, not a good cameo. And then he waited Benitez. I think we brought Holgate on about the second sub was Holgate, wasn't it? Holgate came on.
Yeah, he took like, on often.
Yeah, inside the last 10 minutes. I think it was like the 82nd minute. 20 minutes between subs. I thought that was too long. I've had this gripe about Benitez before that he's not using the subs effectively. If he's only using maybe 1 or 2 a game, and he's not putting them on at the right players on in the right moments. He brought Holgate on to basically sit in the centre midfield with Davies. oh my God, my stomach, my heart sunk into my stomach at that. I thought, oh my God, we're going to completely lose control of this game now.
£500 million spent, and that's on midfield too. It's
Yeah,
crazy, isn't it?
Mason Holgate. Hopefully, that's the end of this idea that some fans seem to have, that Mason Holgate can do a job in midfield, because he played there once under Ferguson at Old Trafford in a super defensive performance where he played as the sitter and he was halfway competent. People have been saying, oh, well, that proves that Holgate can do a job in midfield. It doesn't. He's not played in midfield for any. I think, has he played in midfield ever since that day where Ferguson put him on against United? Not that I can remember, but people seem to have this narrative in their head that he can do a job in midfield, like he can sometimes do it right back. He can't. He hasn't got the discipline. He hasn't got the awareness. He hasn't got the ability, quite frankly, to play in midfield. He lost the ball cheaply so many times. The whole thing happens where he ended up getting his red card for that foul outside our own box. That whole attack happened because he lost the ball stupidly in midfield because his concentration level wasn't what it should be. But just, yeah, the substitutions from Rafa were wrong. I mean, I know his hands were tied. We didn't have a great deal on the bench, did we? And most of the players on the bench we all don't like and saying we don't want to see in the Everton shirt. But it tells you a lot what he thinks about that Jean-Philippe Gbamin when he's bringing two midfielders on in a game where all the momentum's with us and he just needs a bit of extra legs and strength in midfield, and he's throwing on Tom Davies and then Mason Holgate over Gbamin. I think that lad, if he's not doing it already, or if he's not been told to do it already, I think that lad needs to get on his phone to his agents and just get himself a move, because his Everton career is done, as far as I'm concerned. That if it wasn't done before today, it should certainly be done now. When you look at that, I know he got on the pitch like very late on just to defend that late set piece when we were down to 10 men. But when you can't get on the pitch when you're supposedly fully fit over the likes of Tom Davies and Holgate in your natural position, then what's down for you, really?
Yeah, definitely. We've touched on the subs there. We can sort of understand the Fabian Delph one, can't we? Because of his lack of match fitness, and he was on a yellow card. But the Holgate one, just staying with that, would you have left Alan on?
I don't know, because I wasn't really keeping my eye on Alan. I don't know whether he was looking leggy or he was struggling.
A few people say he was blowing a little bit, and he looked quite tired. That could have been a reason, but maybe would you have put Gbamin on before Mason Holgate to sit in that midfield role then?
Well, after that performance against Wolves, you don't know, because he was diabolical, wasn't he? And I don't blame Benitez if he looked at it thinking, I can't trust it, to putting that lad on even for 10 minutes because the whole shape could go to bits. But why decided to put Holgate on? I mean, he still had two substitutions at that point. We'd only used Davies. If he wanted to bring Holgate and Gbamin on together at the same time and just go free in midfield and flood it and just be very, very conservative, have Davies and Gbamin with Holgate sat behind him as a sitter, then that sounds grim on paper, but I could understand the logic behind that. I could understand Benitez thinking, right, nothing's going our way. The referee's not giving us anything. Let's just flood this midfield and make sure that Tottenham don't hit us on the break and we can see the cheap one at the end. If we can get a late winner off a set piece, great. But I'm not taking the chance that we commit too many men forward and Tottenham can get us. Let's just flood that midfield full of tacklers and make sure that they don't cross our halfway line. But he's still stuck with two centre midfielders and put Holgate on as the second centre midfielder. And as we've touched on, he's not a centre midfielder. He never will be a centre midfielder. He can't do a job at centre midfield other than as a sitter. And he only ever did that competently once at Old Trafford in a super defensive performance under Ferguson. So it was the wrong sub for me. It was the wrong, I don't know what the idea was, but his idea was clearly wrong. If he thought that Davies and Holgate together in a two could keep hold of that midfield, then I don't know what game he was looking at, really. And we got very lucky that didn't end up costing us dearly because, as I said, I thought Davies was disappointing. Holgate, even before the red card, I thought was a disaster. I think it was painful watching him, how often he was losing the ball and how sort of a fish out of water he looked, because he was, at times, because he was a centre midfielder, he was spending the majority of the game in the opposition's half, which he's not used to doing. And he would get the ball just over the halfway line or in the final third, and he'd look around desperate to give it to somebody because he wouldn't have, he's thinking, this is not my normal area of the pitch. I don't know what I'm supposed to do when I get here. So, no, it was the subs were wrong, and Benitez has been getting them wrong for weeks now, and that's my major criticism of him so far. He's got to learn how to read the play better, and obviously I understand that he's having his hand forced at times because we're so low in terms of what we can bring off the bench because of the injuries, but there's still times where I think he's making the wrong decision. There's spotted options to put a throw on, and he's choosing the wrong option.
Yeah, I mean it's obvious that the subs were really quite poor again today, but I feel like he's gotten away with it a little bit this week. It was obviously because we've got a point out of it and we haven't lost. But obviously with the Watford game, there was really a lot of noise around the subs, wasn't there? So it's sort of gone under the radar slightly a little bit this week, but it's something that is quite concerning, isn't it? This substitution thing. So he brings on Mason Holgate, and Mason Holgate gives it's it's a weird one because he initially gave him a yellow, didn't he? He initially gave him a yellow because
Yeah,
it was a high boot. It was like a high. He's like he follows through, but did he win the ball?
yeah, he cleared the ball.
Yeah. He got the ball, didn't he? It was the follow through that they looked at, wasn't it, on the VAR? And he has caught him obviously. And is it a red card in your opinion?
Yeah, sadly,
Yeah,
I think people should be. I was just as angry as everyone when I was in the stadium, and then the replay came up, and we saw Holgate clear the ball a good 2-3 seconds before he even made contact with the player. But the lad's lost his head there. That was
yeah,
not a case of he was going in for a 50-50 and he had to just commit to it. Otherwise, basically, we'd have his guts for garters because if the ball was there to be won and if he'd have chickened out that tackle, then that would have had
yeah,
everyone on his back. It wasn't a case of that. He'd done his job. He cleared the ball. All he had to do was just bring his foot. There was enough time for him to consciously control his limb. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And he's
Mm,
basically, I don't know whether he saw red or whether he's just had a mind blank or maybe he's just been a bit unlucky that the player was whoever it was he fouled. I can't think of who the Tottenham player was. Maybe he was moving faster than he thought he was, but no, there's no really defending Holgate. It was just an absolute. It was a moment of just sheer idiocy from him,
yeah,
and that's what we've grown accustomed to now. Whenever you see Mason Holgate, you're going to get at least one moment of sheer idiocy during a game, and
yeah,
it's always been the criticism against him, hasn't it? Even in that time that he looked like quite a decent player, he's just his concentration levels and his discipline are not good enough for this level. And Everton should. I can't believe we haven't moved him out. Yeah, you don't even think the only reason we haven't moved him out is because we haven't had any takers. But we've got to
yeah.
move like Mason Holgate out of the club ASAP because he's just not good enough, and he
Yeah,
never
I think
will
he
be good
definitely
enough.
proved that today, didn't he? It was a really poor area to give away a free kick as well late on in the game.
Yeah,
If
that could have lost us the game. That
Tottenham
could have lost us
score
the game.
there,
Now
yeah,
it's
that could
over.
have really lost us the game, 100%, because we know what we're like with set pieces recently anyway, and it was a really dangerous place to give away a foul like that. And of course, we're down to 10 men, and thankfully we managed to see it through, and we did get the points. But yeah, so it's hard, isn't it? Because we all would have loved to have won this game. We are in real need of 3 points. Feels like forever since our last win now, doesn't it? And the fixtures just aren't going to get any easier at all. Who was your man of the match today? I think officially it's been given to Delph for his performance. And I'd got to go along with that. I thought Delph was really assured in the midfield. He won most of his second balls. He was busy. He sort of linked the play together quite well. And I thought he was one of the standouts. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was probably Delph had the best performance of anyone, but I will say this: I'm not in the business of singing Fabian Delph's praises just because you had a good
Yeah,
hour today and you had a good 45 minutes against Wolves doesn't suddenly mean that all's forgiven. For me, he's still a very, very dislikable person, and I don't want him at the club any second
yeah,
than he has to be. Does his deal run out
yeah.
in the summer?
It does, yeah,
Does yeah? For me, it
yeah,
does not. If he's fit until the end of the season and he plays in every game and he plays well, that still doesn't. He still shouldn't be getting anywhere near a new deal. For me, regardless of his performance today or whatever performance he puts in the subsequent games going forward, Fabian Delph's career is dead and buried at Everton as far as I'm concerned. I'm not in the business of praising him or saying that he's someone who we should be relying on. I'm not going to say sit here and pretend he didn't play well when he did. I'm not that bitter against him. He played well. I'll say he played well, and he did play well. He was the best player on the pitch today. But I've got no time for the fella at all, and I don't think any Everton fan should have time for him. And I hope the club haven't got no time for him. As soon as his contract's up in the summer, boot him out the door. Don't want him.
yeah. I think
You
a lot of people agree with you.
can't include him in our future, even if he
Yeah,
wasn't even if he didn't have the injury problems he had. He's still at the age where what is he 32, 33?
I think he's coming up to 30. I think he's coming up to 33. Yeah,
Yeah, no, there's no player in his almost in his mid 30s who should be part of any long term future at Everton. So no, no. So yeah, Fabian Delph was the man of the match today. He was the best player, and if he can keep that reign of form up, good. But I'm not in the interest of going over the top about it and singing his praises on social media or singing his praises on here. For me, he's still an absolute horrible person, and he's a crap professional, and I don't want him at Everton Football Club any longer than he has to be. But I will mention, I did think Damari Gray was probably a good, solid second choice man of the match. I thought Gray, particularly in the second half.
He looked like our most creative outlet, didn't he, today?
Yeah,
it's just a shame there was no one who could get on the end of anything.
Yeah, he ran his socks off, I thought, on that left wing, especially second half. He was the only player who I saw who was consistently trying to take Tottenham defenders on. He was trying to get in round the back. He was trying to link up with DNA and other players. He was just a thorn in their side. I mean, on the other side, Gordon gave it his best, but I thought Gordon, especially in the second half when he tired, I think Gordon basically, they had his number by the second half. I think Gordon wasn't anywhere near as effective in the second half as he was in the first. Townsend wasn't that effective because he was playing centrally, which he's not used to, even though the effort was there. I thought Damari Gray was a real problem in a pain in Tottenham's backside's arse. Sorry, a pain in Tottenham's back four's arse. He was a solid player. So if you don't want to give your man of the match to Delph, then I think Damari Gray's a solid second choice. I thought he was great.
Yeah, just on Anthony Gordon, you mentioned there. Obviously, he started the game today. A lot of people have been crying out for this again. And he completed the 90 minutes today, which I don't know if I'm correct in saying this. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think is this his first full Premier League 90 minutes? Yeah, like I agree with what you said, Paul. I thought he started the game quite brightly, and I thought he looks like a bright player, and I feel like Anthony Gordon's a player who's only going to get better over time with more minutes. But I do think a lot of people have sung his praises. I thought he was brilliant, and I thought he was good. I thought he was good in the first half, and he did look. Yeah, he had his moments, but I thought he maybe did tire in that second half a little bit.
He definitely faded, particularly in the last 20 or so minutes, where he'd get the ball and he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't losing the ball cheaply, really, from what I remember, or he wasn't putting in any rubbish passes. It wasn't so much that with Gordon today. I feel like it was more he was struggling to get up and down the pitch a little bit towards the end. Just energy.
There was moments where Coleman or Townsend would have the ball, and you're just crying out for him to maybe make that run in behind the defence and just create some kind of space, but we didn't sort of get that towards the end. It's not a massive criticism because he's just
he just didn't have the energy, did he? Yeah, there were times.
He's just starting to become a consistent first teamer for us, and it's encouraging to see because it's been a while since we've had someone come through the academy and stake the claim in the first team, and it's really good to see. So it's good to see Anthony Gordon starting to get more game time and get more involved in the first team setup.
He'll always give us more than Iwobi will. I'll fight. Of course, I'll fight. Yeah. I'll die on that horse. I'd rather have him on the pitch giving it everything for 60, 70 minutes until he's ready to drop than have Alex Iwobi on there just walking around, playing for himself, not looking the least bit bothered and trying all stupid tricks that never come off. No, Anthony Gordon, until we've got a fully fit squad, should be in this team consistently because the only alternative to him is playing Iwobi, and Iwobi should be near this team.
Like you said, Alex Iwobi's 9 lives are definitely up for Everton. I think that Alex, whatever, I know he scored on Monday night, but that was the ship that sailed for me with Iwobi Monday night. I thought his displays have been absolutely nothing short of disgraceful. So there we go. We've drew 0-0. We've got a point. It's like we said at the start of the stream. It's like the first. It's the first of this like nightmare run of fixtures, if you want to call it that. I'll come away with a point. Of course, we need to start getting 3 points in games. It's going to be really difficult. But hopefully, fingers crossed. We're going to the international break now, and there's a lot of talk that Abdoulaye Doucouré will be available after the international break, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get the likes of Yerry Mina coming back soon. And then, if we're really lucky, maybe Calvert-Lewin's not too far off. Maybe if we can get him back in December sometime, that would be a big boost for us. So we're going into the international break now, and since our last one, it's been a really disappointing time, hasn't it? It's been grim. We've not picked up a single win since the last international break. Today is just our first point in that time as well, and it's not going to get any easier, Paul, is it? So just some final thoughts on where are we and looking forward. How do we move on from this today?
I know we've dropped into the bottom half today, but it's not about league position at this point in the season. It won't be about league.
It's not.
It won't be about league position until around Christmas time. We're 11th, but we're only 2 points behind Man United in 6th. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's all about just keeping your head above water now. If we are 13th or 14th or 15th come the middle of December, but we are only 4 or 5 points behind the top 7, then considering the injury problems we've had to deal with, it's not a bad thing. Particularly, you just got to hope now we don't go on the start this disastrous run where we're getting tonked by these teams like City, and then we're losing to Brentford in the manner that we lost to Wolves because we're not showing enough fight, and we're getting absolutely turned over by Liverpool. And then who have we got after the Liverpool? There's another hard game, I think, isn't it?
It's Arsenal, isn't it?
Arsenal, who are probably the most informed team in the league, apart from West Ham. Do you know what I mean? When I did the last stream, I was very, very downbeat, and I thought, yeah, we're going to struggle to get even half a dozen points out of these next 10 or so games. But if we put in that level of performance today and we show that level of desire and spirit, then we've got a fighting chance in some of those games. I mean, I know it's going to be hard going to City and coming away with anything, but other teams have done it that are not as good as Everton. Southampton got a point there early this season. Palace have just gone there and beat them. I don't think there's any great deal of difference between us and Palace. When we've got a fully fit squad, we are 100% better than Palace. They went there and they've puffed the chests out and they've done what their manager told them to do, and they've shown spirit, and they went there and got a result, and so did other teams like Tottenham, and there's another team as well who City have dropped points to. So it's not an impossible task going to Manchester City and putting the wall up and coming away with something. You can get out of there alive, to use one of David May's favourite quotes when he talked about going away to the top teams, just going there and looking to get out alive. Well, it's very possible when you go to City, I think, this season with no striker. Liverpool, that's the derby. That's an entirely different video.
Yeah,
that's an hour long talk. Yeah, that's an hour long talk. Yeah. Brentford, Norwich just went to Brentford. Norwich are absolutely diabolical. They're the worst team in the Premier League by a distance, I think, Norwich, and they've just gone there and got a result. I know Brentford are a really good outfit, and they look like they're going to stay up handily, and everyone seems to like them, and there's a lot of reasons to like them and like their manager. But if Norwich can go there and beat them, then why can't Everton go there and at least get a draw? And I think if you'd offered everyone a draw at Brentford a week ago, I think we'd have snapped your hands off. I think now, considering our performance against Tottenham today and their performance yesterday against Norwich, I think fans should be going there fully expecting us to at least not lose now, or if not win. I'll be looking at that game thinking we should be winning that. If we've got Takore back and we've got Mina back, we should be winning that game, or at the very, very least not losing it, rather than just going there and looking to sneak away with a point. So I'm reasonably optimistic, but there's no reason to panic, is what I'm saying. Maybe that wasn't what I was saying a few weeks ago, but we're going into the busy period of the season now, and if we come out of this busy period and we get to the end of December, January, and we're in the bottom half, then I still think fans, unless something really, really awful happens during this run, unless we're getting spanked 3-4-0 every week, then I don't think the fans should be basically looking for any reason to turn on the manager. I know he's getting things wrong, and I'm frustrated with him at times, as much as anyone is, but I think we've got to show some stability here, and we've got to just ride out these storms as best we can, and hopefully the storms aren't as horrible as we were all thinking they were going to be a few weeks ago. So as long as we can get through this busy period and get into the new year, and hopefully by the time January comes, we'll be doing a bit of business in the transfer market. Hopefully we could set ourselves up for a strong second half of the season and then see where it gets us. But for now, it's just about, as I said, just sailing through the stormy winds, and just seeing what we can get from these games, and just keeping faith that this is the worst it's going to be. It's only going to get better from here. Once we've got this crap around the way, we'll have a better fixture list and more players fit, hopefully, and hopefully a couple of reinforcements from January onwards. And then next season, when we reach it, we'll have more money to spend. So I think people have just got to stay the course a little bit, and just hopefully the players can pull a few good results out the bag for us and give us more reason to be optimistic about what we can achieve in the second half of the season. But even if we're miles off it and we're basically just playing catch up for the second half of the season, looking to finish in the top half, if you'd offered me a top half finish at the start of the season under Benitez, knowing we were going to spend 1.7 million, I probably would have taken that. So if it's just spending the second half of the season looking to finish 10th or 9th, then as depressing as that is, I don't think it's the end of the world. At least not this year, considering what we're up against.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Paul. You know, with what you're saying about how, you know, looking at this run of fixtures, you feel like if we can put in the same sort of display that we've seen today, the same sort of desire and just that bit of grit between the teeth, then
you'll have a reason to look at you'll have a reason to feel proud of your team, even if we're not winning.
Yeah, even if you're not winning. Like I've come out of that ground today, and I've thought, you know what, fair play. So we've got a point against Tottenham, and they've actually looked like they pulled the socks off a bit. So it gives you a bit more encouragement looking at these fixtures. Of course, that's not me taking away how difficult they are going to be. We've got some really, really difficult games coming up. And like you said, if we can just get to the other side of it, and, you know, we haven't been we haven't been battered anywhere, or we just keep our heads above water, as you say. And there's every reason that we can do that if we just show that same sort of determination today. And we've seen as well how quick the fans can be won over. Goodison's a very reactive ground, and we saw specifically in that 10 minutes, either side of the whole penalty situation today. The fans can play a huge part. And, like we said, if we had Calvert-Lewin there today on another day, we could have nicked that. And then before you know it, the Goodison's bouncing. And if we can get similar sort of displays out of them going into games, like Liverpool, like Arsenal, like Leicester, then there's reasons why we at home that we can pick up 3 points. And you mentioned the Brentford game there as well. And if we're on it that day and we don't cower away and we show, we puff our chests out a bit and we have key men back, then absolutely we should be getting 3 points there. And you start to look at it then like you can just take it game by game, and before you know it, hopefully we'll be on the other side of it. And like you rightly said, the only way is up from there. So yeah, we'll leave it there, Paul. Big thanks for coming on the stream with us today. And Everton drew 0-0 with Tottenham. Not a bad start to our nightmare run. We've got a point. And of course, Liverpool have got beat today as well. So that's always a bonus. So happy days. Thanks very much for joining us, Paul. Thanks for everyone for joining the stream. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done already. Thanks for getting involved, everyone. And we shall see you next time on the Toffee Blues.